All right, man. Well, let's go ahead and get this bad boy started. I got the lights off. I got the vibe going. I got lo-fi music playing in the background. And we go get this bad boy started. Go ahead and turn down. I got some wonderful vibes in here playing in the background. Should be good to go. All right. Welcome to the This Starts With Me podcast um, with your boy. My name is Hakim Gray, and not sure just in terms of like what name I'm gonna use or whatever the case may be, but this is the pilot episode nonetheless, so it's always about progressing and moving forward. But this is the This Starts With Me podcast, and the day is January 2nd. And this is something that I am going to commit to this year of the new year 2025 and really just jump into the space and kind of see how it goes. So, what I want to make sure happens is that I give myself a chance to improve, to try new things, to express myself in different ways, to try to do something creative, and really try to discover a new passion that doesn't involve physical fitness or anything financial. Because I just feel like in my life at this time, in my life, I'm 26, fixing to turn 27 here soon. I feel like most of my peers are focused on everything either financial or everything kind of the complete opposite. So just in terms of speaking on my last year in 2024, I really try my best to put God first, really tap into my religious aspect and understand that that is something that will never go away. And the better and closer, stronger, whatever word that you want to put on it, um, however I find ways to improve on that, I know that it'll better my life because, nothing important can lack without the other thing as well. I always believe that the equal and opposite always has to be true, no matter what the situation is. And I really think that this year kind of showed me all of that just kind of through the trials and tribulations that really, transpired throughout. I'll kind of touch on those, but really during this pilot episode, I kind of want to express what this is and what this may not. So for me, and mind you, it's like how I think about it is like I am talking to everybody and nobody about everything and nothing at the same time, right? So if anything, you kind of think of it like that while you're listening. It's just I'm just a person, a human being, a regular guy who goes through everyday's life challenges, and I just try to take this avenue and you talk about them in a different light. Not really think of it as a diary or like a personal journal because I think some things got to remain private. Even coming out this public with some things, definitely some things in my life, just in general, is a new step for me. And you could probably hear it in my voice, kind of like the nervousness or the anxiousness, just to jump into something new. Something that you really never thought that you would either have the opportunity to or have the finances to do so, um, or whatever the case may be. Maybe you're just holding yourself back. Like for me, I've been wanting to start a podcast for years. Quite literally, like me and my one of my brothers, um, he, we stayed up all night talking about all of these ideas and stuff that we made plans for, and this, that, and third, and it just never happened because life always just seemed to get in the way. But now finally being at a place where I can kind of put myself in position to do things that I enjoy because I am blessed with a career. I am blessed with a great family. I am blessed with great friends. So it gives me the ability to kind of step outside of my comfort zone and not really just be in that surviving stage, right? I feel like a lot of the times we're in the surviving stage and by we, I just mean, people in general. Um, and really, I'm just talking about myself, obviously, just a little projection. So when I say we, probably just talking about me, but making it more, making it sound a little more comfortable just to discuss in general. I think it's just one of my defense mechanisms. So, um, but back on track. And what I do is lose track a lot. So I'll definitely have to get better at note taking and staying on topic. But freak it, we're just gonna do what we do, and try to have the best time with it. But I feel like a lot of us at our age are either figuring out how to survive to a certain extent, or maybe still just trying to figure out the bare necessities to survive. But um, I feel like I've been surviving all of my life up until this point, and I'm really starting to kind of thrive in some of the things that I know will be secure. And I know that with my religious and spirituality, the stronger that foundation is, um, ultimately, the better the rest of my life, will kind of have to fall into place. But not ignoring any of the other factors, such as the physical health aspect, the mental health, which is more important than the physical health, in my humble opinion. And that's just speaking from experience, where I've experienced both. Kind of like what society would deem peak physical health, I felt worse mentally. And when I feel my best mentally, the physical can kind of lack because I'm a lot more comfortable in the space that I've made more comfortable, right? Like the house that I've been making a home. I really love it. I pay a lot of money to love it. And, of course, I really want to enjoy it. But you got to enjoy the outside life so that way it can make the inside life just that much sweeter when you return, back to home base and good things like that. So, speaking of home base, had a lot of challenges this past year just in terms of my home, learning a lot of things, either, spiritually about, critters or rodents. Like, for example, like if you have bugs coming in, like if your house is dirty, it's kind of like symbolic of maybe your mind is, not dirty in a sexual sense or anything like that, but dirty maybe just in terms of cloudiness. Maybe you don't have the clarity that which most of us probably desire to have on a daily basis, to where, we kind of are comfortable in knowing what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, what time it's going to take, and stuff like that. So, um, and that kind of bows back to the title of the podcast. This starts with me, because um, this being the day, the event, the journey, the struggle, the trial, the tribulation, the triumph, um, it starts with you. And I think with us, or with you, with me, is almost the most important part about it, because it's like you're never alone, right? Whether you believe in a higher power, maybe you're just really close tied to your family and friends. But regardless, like, you always will have people around you, and even when you don't, um, you always will in a way, So this starts with me. It'll always start with me, and it'll always end with me, right? We're born on this earth by ourselves, and we'll hopefully graciously leave this earth, and when we do it, we will do it by ourselves, right? So yeah, it starts with me. 2024 was a big year of really trying to live every day out, you know, every single second of the hour and then every hour of the day. And I really try to maximize some of the things that was really important to me. So in terms of my career and work, this would be my like second full year in a corporate setting, and I'm really thoroughly enjoying it. I really feel blessed with my position and the things that I'm able to do for not only the people at work but the people outside of work, right? Because I feel like it's starting with me. Like I kind of feel like the tree of life is almost, the roots is kind of almost embedded in me, and it's almost my responsibility to make sure that I branch out as far as possible, to all of those willing and maybe all of those who don't seem to be willing. So for me, it's really a big year of giving back, where they're just be giving back to my friends, family, giving to strangers, giving to those struggling due to homelessness, poverty, no matter what the case may be. Always try to give in a sense to where it's bigger than me. The picture will always be bigger than me. And I really feel like this past year I kind of understood what that means in the sense of truly being selfless. Because selfless doesn't completely remove selfishness, but selflessness kind of involves other people, and it always has to involve those who may need the help, or may not need the help, or maybe you just want to give and help out in ways that you see fit, because all obviously all of us have different meanings and definitions of what our needs and what help means to us, but I really think just kind of being present, is really a present in itself. So I know growing up for me, not having a lot of money or not being able to do things that I really wanted for people in a material sense, I kind of understood like, hey, if I can't give you the gift of something material, I'll try to give you the present of my presence, right? And I told my mom that, especially like on like Mother's Day and stuff like that, because we live in different states, so sometimes it would just make it that more difficult. But I always just try to be there in some way, form, or faction. No matter what, matter if it's a phone call, text message, stuff like that. So I really try to be a glue for my family. Understanding that we lost Pop December 4th, 2022, and it's just kind of been something that, of course, you never forget, um, and rarely do you ever kind of like go a while without thinking about. But now I'm at the point where like when I think about it, I think about it only in positive, um, you know, aspects, and even if it's not that positive, I always try to half glass full it and try to turn it into something I can truly appreciate. So that's been a big challenge, is still understanding his values and understanding what he's instilled in me from a kid, because we didn't have the closest relationship. I didn't grow up with a father, so it was just me, my brother, my mom, my grandparents, and then lost Pop. He's grandpa, so lost him, and then it was just kind of like, oh well, all right, Lord, let's see what you got for us, So I really think it left me in a place where I had to only depend on him. And this past year, it finally felt like, okay, this is why you depend on the Lord. Like you always depend on him during your struggles, and then you always depend on him when you're at your highest of the highs, because the lowest of the lows has to come as well. In order for the good to exist, the bad also has to exist. Positive, negative, and any other terms or colloquialisms that you want to use for that, feel free. But one of the challenges that I for sure went through was one of my dogs, my baby Luna. She is 6 years old, and she got diagnosed with IVDD, which is basically like a disc disease, to where one of them slipped out of place, and she lost full function in her hind legs. So that's just been a big struggle in terms of navigating around that. We also have two other dogs, Riley and Levi, and that leaves the house with three. I always say two and a half, but we got three lively pups in here. And when one of them can't move, it's just like, what do you do? So I struggle with that internally a lot, just on a daily basis. Obviously when it's, it goes past being a pet, like, that's my kid, bro. Like that's a child of mine, that I will always think of like that. This is somebody who has always depended on me, for no matter what it may be, like an actual child would. Only difference is that this one doesn't evolve to, do everything themselves. But past that, this is something that is always going to be a part of me. And experiencing grief for the first time, like I did a couple of years ago, it really just kind of puts things into perspectives in terms of how you appreciate things while you got them. Unfortunately, I didn't have the best relationship with my grandfather, and by best, like, it was great. It wasn't like malicious or tumultuous to any extent, but it just wasn't as present as I think most children growing up in a 2, 3 parent household would kind of experience. Now my family is very militant. I give them that. Very military, big background. Everybody was kind of in the military, retired out of it. So like those values and traditions and kind of work ethics, I do greatly appreciate. And I always feel him. And I always understood growing up that's like, hey, I'm not around for a reason, and when I am around, I'm gonna make sure that it's for the best of it. But when I was around like maybe what 12, 12, maybe like 14, he got diagnosed with prostate cancer, and that kind of of course takes its toll on everybody. But man, he was such a fighter. It was just like I would always try to mentally prepare myself for the worst, but it got to a point where it was like, oh, well, he's going to live forever. And then once you get to the point where it's like, oh, you think this thing is forever, is right when, kind of everything gets, feel like it gets zapped right out of thin air, right? So, if anything, help restore my faith more into the Lord, and understanding that everything happens for a reason, that everything has to happen for that reason, even if we don't understand that reason. So on top of that, with the dog health and that, diminishing kind of seemingly right in front of your eyes, that can definitely take a toll on you mentally. And I think this year I really just started to recognize my feelings and my symptoms of depressions and my depressive episodes and things like that, and understanding that, hey, you're going to go through them. It's okay to go through them. You just always have to be prepared, or at least want to be going in the direction of handling it with the most maturity and the most open mindset that you could possibly have. So I, for me personally, I feel like I'm a very emotional person, especially being a male is just kind of like overwhelming in times, especially when, it feels like society isn't really used to that, especially in like certain aspects, right? Kind of having to have that emotional maturity, emotional intelligence is a very time consuming thing, especially like if you feel like you don't prepare for it, or have been prepared for it in your upbringing. I really feel like it's something that can kind of hold you back if you let it be, right? So I did, let that hold me back. I honestly did let my emotions hold me back in terms of just progressing in, my relationships with family and friends and everybody who loves me and supports me. Those relationships, took its toll because I wasn't, handling my responsibility. So I really tried to focus on the people who have taken the time to focus and love me, as the Lord sees fit and keeps them in my life, because I also understand that everybody isn't meant to be here forever. Just because they're here for a great season doesn't mean that they're going to be here for every season. And you got always got to find the great reasons for those, right? So every lesson is a blessing, as long as you kind of recognize and turn it on its head and really try to make it what you want it to be. But 2024 is really full of challenges, but those challenges truly, and I mean truly, remain fruitful, um, just because they seem to always work out as long as you keep your head on straight, right? Like stress is always going to happen. I believe that there's good stress as well as bad stress. And sometimes you have to stress on the things that are going to push you a little forward, put you outside of your comfort zone, and really kind of help you become you. And I think, tying back into this podcast, that this is something that's going to push me, in my creative boundaries, give me something outside of my normal hustle and bustle of the 9 to 5, and then hanging out with the homies, and then doing my own personal thing, and hanging out with the missus, and hanging out with the dogs and family members and stuff like that. Is like, okay, another thing to add to my plate. And for me, my whole life is, has been pretty busy. Like, I feel like this is kind of the first time where I've really been having some chill time, just mentally, to the point where it's like, okay, I'm really kind of feeling energetic again. Like, I'm feeling like I'm about to go to college again. Like, I'm feeling like I'm about to graduate high school and be like, okay, you know what? Boom, let's get to this next challenge. So I hope that throughout this podcast and throughout the progress that we make, as the other listener on the other side of this, this episode, if there ever is one, because again, I'm kind of speaking to everybody and nobody about everything and nothing at the same time. So I try to just be me, and I really feel like this has been not a calling, but something where it's like, okay, I know that this is something that I truly love because I listen to podcasts. I listen to different genres of podcasts. It's truly content that I enjoy consuming, whether it be with an audio visual, without an audio visual, whether I'm in the car, whether I'm at work, whether I'm at home. And I really try to make it something that is a part of my daily regimen. So why not hop into it, right? Um, the reason it's taken me so long to get this started is because I felt like I needed everything to set up for the perfect situation. And guess what? When I had the perfect situation, I still didn't set it up. I bought this mic kit, bundle kit, off of Amazon, and it's been sitting here for like a couple weeks. And I told myself, hey, before this Saturday, today is, again, it's the second day of the year, but it's Thursday, Saturday the 4th, an episode needs to go out, right? So whatever it is, however long it be, no matter if there's cover art, no matter if there's a description on the damn title, and somehow I was really just found this title today while I was kind of thinking about everything, and I really feel like it kind of fits because this has to start with me. And literally, there's no other way that this can start without me because this is my pod, right? So, with that, I hope that any feedback that I do get on this pod, as long as it's genuine, even if it's not, I always try to find the underlining genuineness and try to figure out where, half glass full, do what I do best and try to make the best out of every situation, no matter what cards we got. So I think for um, this year, one of my goals is to not only be consistent with this, but to not be afraid to grow with this, right? To not be afraid to invest time. And if it requires money, fine, but try to do the things without, hey, maybe I need this lighting setup, or hey, maybe I need to go video. Let's just make sure that we love it. Let's just try to do it for the love of the game, and really try to enjoy it for what it is first. And I'll be honest, I am also going to be on another podcast with one of my brothers, my best friends, my brother from another mother, Amani, and that pod will be about different things. And you'll definitely see a different side of me. But I think this podcast for me is just going to be, not a journal, not a diary, but just a true form of self expression through just listening and through an audio interface. And I truly thank God that it's really gotten easier to do things like this, where I know a few years ago when I was doing research on equipment, like A, it costs infinitely more, and B, it was like just not that much knowledge about the space unless you're like Joe Rogan or something like that. Like unless you're like a really like heavy hitter in the space or like you really invested the time, money and stuff like that. Um, you know, then that was something that you can do. But, for me, I truly can't imagine like making a dime off of this, just to be real with you. Um I I haven't even looked into like any monetization options. Truly doing this kind of love for the game and kind of jump into something new. If I see a pool, I'm always eager to jump into it. Of course, got to make sure that it's safe. Make sure that's all good to go. But you got to dive in sometimes, man. You got to do the things that you're most afraid to do because those may be the things that push you to the point of which you never imagine yourself being at. And every single time I try to like be comfortable at work or I try to be comfortable with my personal life, um, not to say tragedy strikes, but a new challenge appears. And is it hard? Of course. Is it impossible? Not at all. Because I don't think I could have been in this space in my life at this time without going through every single challenge. To which, you guys will find more about as I get a little more concentrated and make a little more sense of, what I want to do with this thing. But I know for a fact there's going to be at least 52 episodes this year because I'm going to do one a week. I can sit here and talk for a little bit for at least one time a week. And I'm sure as I get a little more organized, get some more topics that I feel more passionate about, like crime and like maybe a little politics. I'm not really kind of like politics in a different, form and fashion, but like I love crime, I love sports, I love technology, I love podcasts, I love, a bunch of different things, and I kind of want to go through this journey, uh, you know, but I got to start it with me, and I got to understand that starting it with me means that I got to throw myself on the deep end without having everything perfect. So, hey, things, get better or get better, not even get better. If things grow at a rate to which we never saw, fantastic. And if things grow so slow that you can't really see it, fantastic. Because I know that no matter what, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna put my best foot forward, and I really think that this is something that we can grow and kind of have a good bit of fun with. So just want to go ahead and kind of tie over again what this is about. Especially with the first episode, it's kind of going over last year's challenges. And I didn't even really touch on a few of them because there was a lot of blessings, but a lot of bullshit. A lot of great times, but bad times. And I'm sure as I get to remembering it, we can go through story times and stuff like that. And I think that may be something that we can do as we kind of progress forward. But yeah, man. I mean, this last year really took a toll on me, but I think it really helped me learn how to handle that toll. Like my girl, she got in an accident, lost her car, so we've been sharing the car, and it's just been something about teamwork and really, I think God has really shown us how to work as a team and depend on each other with Him more than ever, and understanding that if we do this together and move as a unit and put God first, everything else will fall into place. And honestly, ever since that event happened, and it's been like 2 to 3 months now. I mean, we haven't had as much fun as we've been having. I think arguments have been so scarce and far and few in between that it's really nothing to even discuss or worth remembering. And I truly think that it's put us in position to not depend on each other for survival, but help each other in thriving to where we want to be. Because now she gets the opportunity to get the vehicle that kind of she's been wanting for. We get to learn how to save and learn how to put money aside and kind of really learn how to work together for the greater good of us. So with that, that's not even a point of contention like I feel like it would be with some couples. Um, and for me, it really just it's like, hey, what's mine is yours. And if what's yours is mine, and if we can both mutually agree on that and give our 100% on both sides, everything will continue rocking out. And this past year has been nothing short of amazing. Is it the first year? No, honestly, we like 8, 9 years deep, I think, in total. To which maybe one day get her on here and talk about something. Who knows? But I'm super excited to see where this can go. Because I really think last year kind of prepared me to a talk about stuff, to have a podcast, and be put in a position to where I'm comfortable enough to do something like this, to where I'm completely out of my comfort zone. As you can probably tell, I've been rambling for like the past like 10 minutes. There's no way anybody else is listening to this, but if you are, I just want you to know that my deepest appreciation for you will always be there. As a person who decides to get on their phone and actually listen to this is absolutely wild. Or get on any device and absolutely listen to this is absolutely crazy in my mind. But for me, because it starts with me, really the only, the most important feedback at this moment would be for me, right? Because I'm probably gonna be the only one, on this boat for a while, and that's fine. I drive in my own lane. I don't drive in the fast lane because I've got a ticket, to which I had to deal with, and that is not fun at all. To which I'll definitely have a story about, and definitely a different topic about for another podcast episode. But what that definitely taught me was like, hey, you don't have to move as fast as you think you have to, and oftentimes when you're rushing, you're going to forget something that is probably pretty important. So I think about the burnt toast theory, and the burnt toast theory is that you wake up for work, you're getting ready, you do your coffee, maybe get the kids ready for work, maybe you do a little bit of work before you even get into the office, maybe got to look at a couple of emails, watch the news, whatever the case may be. But you get ready, you're about to throw your jacket on, you're about to throw your purse over your shoulder, and you put your toast in the toaster, and it's burnt, right? Now, for whatever reason, you're not going to leave without this toast, so you decide to go ahead and put a brand new, couple pieces of toast in there, and it makes you about 15 minutes late. Now, burnt toast theory is that because you were late, you may have potentially, and in this case they did, miss an event that was going to catastrophically change your life, right? Um, and it turns out that like the direction that they were going to go, like there was like a huge accident or something crazy happened where like it took out and unfortunately had a lot of victims. But burnt toast theory taught me that, hey, just because it's not on the time that you want it to be doesn't mean that it's never going to come. B, doesn't mean that it's even going to be in the way that you see it. And C, doesn't mean that you may ever have it at all. But at some point you will. And I think, when I think about things and certain events in my life that transpire, even on a daily basis, was just deciding on getting up out of bed. It's just like, hey, it starts with me. Um, and when I'm doing it, I have to understand that, yes, I may have a plan, but that plan can change. And if it does change, even if it feels like it's for the worse, as long as you remain faithful, it has to be for the better. I believe in things have to absolutely work out as long as you put your best foot forward. So if you do something great once, you could do it great 1,000 times. And that's just something that I get from being a leader, at my job, to which I'm again extremely blessed for. And I really think some of those teachings and trials and tribulations will, you know, prepare me for the life that I want to live in the future, or the life that I want to be able to enjoy for whatever it is at that moment. Always want to be rich in spirit, no matter if I'm rich in pockets, right? So I think with that, I think that might be a decent way to go ahead and wrap up this episode. So I'm really not sure of the time. I want to say we got started at like 2:17. It is now like 2:45. So really can't see myself talking longer than 30 minutes, especially considering I only had like 5 topics up on my board. And I think I hit every single one of them. So, yeah, this is the This Starts With Me podcast with your boy Hakim. And this is just a avenue for me to talk to everybody and nobody about everything and nothing at the same time. So, I hope that you thoroughly enjoyed it. I absolutely enjoyed it. And if there is someone out there on the other end, please give your boy some feedback. This will be out on as many platforms as possible. So, comment, um, whatever you're just talking shit, whether you're giving praise and glazing, or whether you're just saying, hey, uh, jump off the deep end, or hey, don't ever do that shit again. You know what I'm saying? Like, leave something, so that way I can at least have, something to either get mad at or happy about, for, the next, few minutes of my life while I think it's important and stuff like that. So, yeah. So, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate myself. I appreciate everybody who is out there in the world. I love all these beautiful people. And yeah, this is the This Starts With Me podcast. And I'll see you in the next one.